Hey y'all, I've spent a lot more time with the new Myers, and I want to get my thoughts and feelings out before he fully comes out. The question I get the most about the Myers is definitely, is he stronger, and where would I put him on a tier list? To which I would say he is most certainly stronger, and I don't have an exact placement as of right now, but he's definitely better than Ghostface. When this update comes out, I'm not sure there will be too much reason to pick Ghostface from a strength reason. The new Myers plays very similarly to Ghostface for his game plan: get into vantage points to gain stalk, hide yourself in sneaky places, stalking people as they run off. The only real advantage Ghostface has is stalk not changing depending on distance. Myers can't be broken out of his power, and when he exposes survivors, he exposes everyone. His stealth is always active, unlike the cooldown Ghostface has. Michael's starting game is nowhere near as bad. I'm not sure if Myers even has a bad early game anymore. He can get pretty easy hits now with the increased movement speed of tier 1 and the less stock requirement, so you can snag some early hits and get out of tier 1 really quickly. Myers' stock also counts for all the survivors. He gets out of tier 1, and then from that point on, everything goes to all the survivors being exposed rather than needing to find every survivor individually. The increased amount of evil per survivor is fantastic. I recently played how Myers is currently to make sure I wasn't gaslighting myself into thinking the new Myers feels better. And my god, this was the biggest improvement. There were instances within my 2-hour play session, quite a few instances, I would have a near perfect 99, and I couldn't use it because I killed the survivors that had lots of evil left. I always felt that having to leave survivors alive because as the Myers player doing your job efficiently felt pretty horrible. Now that won't be nearly an issue. This is definitely the change I'm looking forward to the most. There were just so many instances of me not being able to stalk survivors anymore. It felt way worse in comparison to the new PTB Myers, in which I didn't have to play around survivors evil nearly as much. It feels non-existent to really play around the survivors' limited amount of evil with the new Mikey. The new thing you'll be doing with Myers, as mentioned before, is playing around how you'll be stalking. After this update, Myers will be a little harder to play, and I think some people are going to say Myers is worse because of it. I have a survivor main friend who played several matches of the PTB saying every Myers she went up against was struggling trying to play a Myers how he used to work, which was just bum rushing and gaining stock from the close distance, which is really the opposite of what you want to do. If Myers is forced to be close to a survivor because they're behind cover, it's much better to sneak up behind cover and attempt to get a stealth hit stalking as they run away. Myers has to be played much more lore accurately. Watching them run away as they're injured, watching from a distance. Stalking is just so much more fun than it was before. It feels great to be rewarded for playing lore accurately. I always wanted to play more accurately, but Myers just takes forever to tier up when playing this way. It just wasn't worth it. Now, smart placement and stealth is extremely rewarding. Tiering up Myers very quickly, it makes what I felt to be the least fun aspect of the character one of the more fun parts, and stalking with Myers should feel rewarding. It's a big part of the character. I always love the sneaky, insta-down fast fall, bigger lunge parts of the character. Now the other part of Myers is really fun too. I have very little negatives to say about the buffs. I absolutely love it. There's only one real negative I have to the character, that being popping in 99 is a bit weird because stalking is so slow up close. A lot of the time around tight loops, you need to pop the tier 3 instantly, and you can have a really close 99 and the little bit of stalking won't be enough to pop it. Then you get pallet stunned and just look silly. I think there are two solutions to this problem: either give Myers a tier up button similar to Oni, or make stalking up close a little faster. Either should fix the problem just fine. But other than that, Myers feels fantastic. I love this variation of the character. Now, with these new changes, of course, add-ons were changed up quite a bit, so let's go over what I think is good and not. Let's start with the big talk of the town, Tombstone. If you're not aware, the Tombstone requires much more stock to get to tier 3. The Tombstones individually, from what I played, are just fine. They were a little tricky on indoor maps, but Tombstone Peace was funnily enough buffed in a way too. Judith's as well. I actually think after this update, Judith will be the better add-on. I'll get into that in a little bit, but with Tombstone Peace, it's actually possible to mori all 4 survivors because of the increased stock amount per survivor. This was technically possible before if you managed to kill survivors at the tail end of tier 3, but now that is no longer required. With minor stock management, it's very possible to mori every survivor. Now, as to why Judith's is the better add-on now, after testing, there's only a 5-second difference to get to tier 3 between Judith's and the piece. And once Myers gets to 1 tier 3 with Judith's, every subsequent tier 3, fail or not from tier 3, is only a 5-second amount to get back to tier 3 and mori people again. Just because of the increased amount of evil, Myers can get a lot of tier 3s with Judith's. If you're going to go for the achievement after this update, using Judith's and exclusively Judith's with like J. Myers Memorial or something of that nature is the way to go, because infinite Tombstone is so dead. It takes about a minute and 20 seconds of stalking to get to tier 3 with infinite Tombstone. Keep in mind you have to find multiple survivors. Survivors will be ducking in and out of corners. It's going to be very tough getting to tier 3 consistently with the new infinite plus Judith's. This combination will definitely be more of a meme rather than any kind of threat. Any decent team will keep the Myers from getting to tier 3, which definitely means less locker standoffs. This is of course just my impressions from the PTB. My feelings might change about this once it hits live and I have more time with him, but Infinite Tombstone felt really awful. I don't really mind this since it's an extremely powerful combination. It should be tough to get to it, and it can resort to one of the more gameplay interactions within the game, the previously mentioned locker standoffs. Speaking of Infinite, Fragrant Tuft of Hair now has the same stalking requirement as Judith's Tombstone. In my opinion, this is undeserved. It's not nearly as strong as Tombstone since it gets rid of one of Michael's biggest strengths, that being his stealth. He now needs to dedicate a perk slot to it if he wants to keep his stealth. My point being, I really don't think this add-on should have the same requirement as Tombstone. When Tombstone is way stronger, it could be that they are keeping the requirement this way simply because of the Tombstone combination, and if that's the case, bit of a shame that this add-on had to die off a bit just because of the existence of another add-on. I shouldn't say it's exactly dead, it's still fine, but it's not nearly as good as it was before. I get it, it's a bit of a shame. If you're really wanting long tier 3 fun after this, I would recommend running the hair bow with the purple lock of hair, because the purple lock of hair has been buffed. It's not infinite, but it takes less time than just rocking Fragrant Tuft of Hair, and you still get a tier 3 that lasts a little over 2 minutes. Lock of Hair used to be one of Michael's worst add-ons, since it required nearly double the amount of stock to get to tier 3 for only an increased amount of 10 seconds on tier 3 versus the hair bow add-on. For those that don't know, these hair add-ons increase the amount of stock needed on the first tier 3, with the benefit being that tier 3 is longer. Lock of Hair increases tier 3 by 40 seconds, while Hair Bow increases it by 30. Lock of Hair is a purple add-on. With so little additional benefit with such an unnecessary increased amount of stock needed to get to tier 3, now it's in line with the amount of stock needed as the other add-ons and has immediately skyrocketed to one of Michael's best add-ons. The extended tier 3 add-ons in general have gotten much better with this update. My biggest issue with them before was because of the limited amount of stock on the playing field. It meant that needing more stock for tier 3 meant less tier 3s. Survivors would be drained a lot quicker, so it would be much more possible to not be able to tier 3 on a survivor at a very crucial moment, which is why I rarely use the extended tier 3 add-on. Because of the increased evil amount on the map, these add-ons are so much better. The hair bow and lockup hair in particular. Funnily enough, because of how Michael's stock now being more effective from afar, a few other add-ons were buffed and some a little nerfed. The jewelry add-ons are minorly buffed. It's good for Myers to be able to move faster and spot people at a distance easier while stalking. I still wouldn't recommend running them, but I find it funny they are more effective on him now. A much better add-on is the tier 2 mirror shard add-ons. These add-ons have also jumped really up Michael's list. They might actually be Michael's new best add-ons. When from a distance, they tell Myers when survivors are about to leave cover so he can continue to stalk more. When up close, since stalking is much slower, it's unlikely Myers will get very much stalk, but it will give him wall hacks at loops, making mind games much easier for Michael. It benefits Myers no matter the range. The faster stock add-ons weirdly don't feel as good, even when extended tier 3 add-ons are used. I think the reasoning for it being that survivors are at a distance much more often than they would be stuck in your face. They're often running away from you, not at you. I just always felt like I would have gotten my tier 3 or out of tier 1 at about the same speed with the add-on, like J. Myers Memorial, Judith's Journal, whatever it was, with or without it. Since tier 1 requires less stock as well, it just doesn't feel as useful. His start isn't as bad anymore. My opinion could change on it, but I stand on the hill of them feeling kind of meh right now. Also, a lot of people were confused about Scratch Mirror. A lot of people thought it was nerfed because of the patch notes saying the movement speed was reduced on the mirror. It was just reduced from the newly buffed tier 1 speed, which makes Scratch Mirror exactly the same as it is now. Certain perks also feel different on Myers. Lethal Pursuer might be his best perk. Being able to see where everyone is so you can plot where to hide and stalk is super amazing for Myers. It also goes very well with his mirror add-ons. Barbecue and Chili is great for the same reason. Corrupt Intervention is a perk I think isn't quite as good on Myers, since the survivors will either be hiding once they see the gens are blocked, or running towards you. Both things you don't really want with the new Myers. Great for the current Myers since he gets way more stock from up close, but I'm not so sure about the new Mikey. Most of the perks that worked before on Myers still work just fine. I think Save the Best for Last might be a good perk on the new Mikey. I'm not entirely sure though. Since you want to stalk after hits, Save the Best for Last obviously lets you recover from hits faster so Myers can gain more stock. It also helps his snowball since he'll be able to slug more effectively, being able to move from one target to the next a little quicker. The only problem with the perk is, of course, it takes a while for it to get super high in stacks. Myers can conserve stacks by insta-downing the Obsession as well, but since you're insta-downing, you might not gain as many stacks with Myers, and it might influence the Myers to not spend as many tier 3s, which that might not be too great. Since you have so much evil, it's not really as good of an idea to just be so conservative with your tier 3s. The perk sounds good to me with Myers on paper, but I need more time with the perk to really figure out if it's good on him. Most of everything else is about the same. If it works on Myers before, it most certainly works on him now. The biggest upgrade being Lethal, which was already a great perk on him. It's just even better than it was before. The last thing I suppose I'll mention is Myers on indoor maps. I've seen it floating around that Myers feels terrible on indoor maps. He doesn't feel as good, but to me he still played fine. I think he needs to be played a little differently, getting stealth hits a little more frequently, but I was doing just fine on indoor maps. I tried all the different indoor maps multiple times against several different groups. The only thing that felt a little tricky was Tombstone, but other than that, Myers felt great to me. I believe those are all my thoughts on the current Myers though. Overall, this Myers update gets 2 thumbs up from me. I love how he feels to play a lot. He feels even more lore accurate, which I didn't think was possible. I felt behavior really nailed the feeling of Myers, but this just makes him feel even more true to the character. He's fantastic. I just really only had the complaint about the 90/90 tier 3 feeling weird up close, but that's about it and has a very easy fix. What are your thoughts on the Myers buffs? Let me know in the comments, and thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe in the fog, everyone.